realize everybody's in there with you. You know, you're all already connected. And so then the solving of terrible problems that we have on Earth now, like energy crisis and cancer and, you know, medical things, and well, just like that, you know, be solved. Because look at the brain power, look at the natural ease that will come.
Yeah, and I think in many ways, just to complete on that point, it's kind of like at the end of The Wizard of Oz, when we come back from our journey and we're standing in front of the great Oz, and Toto is sneaking around the corner and pulling back the curtain, and we all look and we're like, this was all just bullshit. There really wasn't a problem. There really wasn't anything to be afraid about.
Right. The cosmic joke.
Don't use that as your mantra.
So it's pretty exciting to talk about how we're trending and the effect of the collective consciousness and all that. What are going to be some of the symptoms of this? Really?
Yeah.
What are we going to start to notice showing up as we evolve?
I think in early stages, you probably all have already experienced a lot of this, that as the acceleration happens and everything's vibrating faster, your body starts vibrating faster, which we're not used to. It's like we feel hyperactive, heart pounding, racing, getting fevers, and not able to sleep, feeling too electrical. And there are initial disturbances, you know, in the physical level. That if you don't know what's happening, you think you're sick or something, you know, but really you're just trying to let yourself adjust to this new vibration. You feel that, or you're sensing that too?
Yes. Especially in the early stages too, when the impact was just happening, total exhaustion.
Yeah.
You know, this processing and this reacclimation that was going on within my body, and even getting around high energy people that I wasn't yet at that frequency, I would watch my body go into like these shapes.
I can't keep up.
I think I can. You Janice. Yeah, so
Yeah.
definitely the charge that the system is getting activated in a way that it has been dormant or not used to. And this is why I think meditation and yoga and breath work are so important.
Yeah.
Because when you oxygenate your system, you're not only removing a lot of the blocks in these subtle and gross passageways of your blood system, your nervous system, your subtle energy system, but you're also getting to a place where you can hold more charge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's prana, you know,
Yeah.
building. I think, so we're all in various stages of that, because it doesn't just happen once, right? These things, you go through cycles of it, and it intensifies like there are waves coming through. And it pushes you, and then you have to let go of trying to figure it out with your left brain or do the logical thing, and just fall into it and let the energy work on you, kind of just let it help you. And then you get to that level, then the next level, you know, starts to come. But part of this thing happening with the body is that it also is raising the frequency of your emotional body, of your mental body. And so that means you're starting to have different kinds of thoughts, and all the old suppressed thoughts that were fear-based, that are really low vibration, that you used to be able to suppress and deny, you can't, there's no place for those to hide anymore. And they come up, you know, and then we have this clearing of the subconscious, the Pandora's box thing. And that is very disorienting. And most people think it's just going to be all sweetness and light, and it's not. In that phase, it looks like all your traumas are happening to you all over again. Because when things surface from the subconscious, they come in the conscious mind. Conscious mind is daily reality. So these things act out again. The things we never wanted to look at, oh, they're happening. What happened here? Was I a bad person? You know? So you have to be patient and clear these things with a lot of love and understanding.
Yeah. And just to say one thing about that too, when they're surfacing again in these cycles, these unconscious patterns, these shadow qualities, in the past we may have been consumed by them, dominated by them, completely inundated by them. But now when it comes around, we'll have more awareness. Like, we'll even watch ourselves getting in the rage. We'll watch ourselves being guilty or fear-based or whatever it is, but there's this inkling of awareness, and that begins to become the go-to place and the safe place where you're no longer fully identified with the shadow. You're now integrating the energy that it's actually offering you, because it's a part of you. And it's saying, would you be my friend? Could you please love me? Because I need love.
And I have a message for you.
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
Right, you know.
So we'll be noticing new frequencies and a new sense of flow.
Oh.
And what would be a great way to maybe merge with something? Let's say we notice a new frequency. Are there hints that you might have to say, okay, here's something that you can do to, once you notice a new frequency, how you can get into it?
I think there's a whole new art form of feeling into something and becoming one with it by first being with it. Not trying to process it with the left brain, but go into the right brain, have direct experiential connection with, it could be an object, and you could merge with that, or it could be an insight, or it could be a state of being. When you merge with it, you become it. And then it downloads into you with all its knowledge.
Yeah.
So, even with the subconscious blocks coming up, you do that. You go in and say, well, we were saying earlier, it's like kind of like some kind of universal energy that's just gotten twisted and contracted. And inside of that twist is something important for you to know. Something where you had partial perception, you didn't understand it fully. And if you relax and let it kind of untwist, it unloads its data to you. And it's not bad, it's interesting. And then as soon as you get the message, it goes away. And now you're more kind of consciously superconscious in loving.
Yes.
You know.
And when you say being with, my mind immediately goes to your relationships, and especially your most intimate and deep relationships. Like, take the time to connect in the silence, especially with your deepest relationships, so that you can really be there with the other person. Because sometimes we're so caught up in the script and the roles that we play, and we're projecting what we think the other person is onto them, and they're doing it to us. And so we're interacting with our own inner belief system, and we're not even with the people in our life. And so to feel into the frequency of the people that you love, and actually get so inside their skin that it's like you can see out through their eyes.
And even with your enemies or your people who bug you.
Yes.
The same deal. Just go in and feel who they are inside and how they're seeing the world, and the fact that they're bugging you, you must have a matching idea that's somehow related to their idea, or you wouldn't even notice it.
Do you see these behaviors and ideas, like being, as you mentioned it, are those ideas and behaviors becoming more normal? Will we see a lot of that? Are we just going to take for granted? Is it moving fast enough that we'll see these behaviors show up everywhere with more frequency?
It hasn't affected reality TV yet. But I think there are going to be changes in the forms of what we find entertaining, for instance, And I think it will eke its way out into the, consciousness.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I certainly see it happening. I often feel like when we're having this conversation, you know, in Tibetan Buddhism, there's that practice where you actually imagine that everyone on the planet is already a Buddha, except you. And so when you're looking at someone, you already see them as the enlightened being that they are. And I think that's actually how we can shift the reality TV or this reality hologram immediately. Because we're in a quantum universe and we're all operating in these probable amplitude waves. And depending on what you expect to see, you then collapse that probability amplitude in that quantum entity that you're looking at. And they show up the way you expect them to. So if you're looking for and at Buddha all the time, well, guess what you're going to see? And then when you spot it, you got it. So then you'll know yourself as the one you're seeing. And I think this is how it's not a time-based process. It's choice. It's willingness.
Yeah, I think too, like, for some reason films and TV are on my mind, but you know, when individuals go through this clearing of the subconscious mind, society does too. It's an individual process and a collective process. So when society goes through it, it's like on the news, it's current events. And so of course right now, look at what the news is full of. It's just awful stuff. And we're seeing it like everybody's subconscious is emptied and there's all this flotsam and jetsam floating around in the ethers, and we keep hitting it unconsciously. And it keeps reminding us of our fear. There's something in this time period where we have to be very centered and clear about our choice to stay in that home frequency or to be a thought leader and to not be unconscious and fall back into commiseration and agreement with the negative thinking. And not to think of that, oh, the physical world is a place of pain and suffering, you know, and I have to sacrifice myself to survive. And this is old perception.